It started on a quiet Tuesday morning, the kind where the sun just peeks over the horizon, painting golden streaks across my ranch. I was out inspecting the pasture, checking on the herd, when my phone buzzed. It was a text from a neighbor. HOA Karen is at your fence again. My stomach sank. Karen, the notorious HOA enforcer, had been escalating her interventions for months, and nothing I did seemed to deter her. I drove down the long gravel driveway and immediately saw her, standing defiantly by my newly repaired fence, clipboard in hand, muttering about unauthorized structures and property violations. She had a look of smug authority, the kind that made you want to scream. Without warning, she grabbed her bolt cutters and started snipping at the fence wire. Now, here's the part most people don't realize. I personally trained every single bull on my ranch. They weren't just livestock. They were disciplined, intelligent, and extremely aware of boundaries. They understood commands, signals, and, more importantly, threats. And right now, the bulls were beyond aware that Karen was crossing theirs. As Karen worked her way through the fence, I could hear the low, warning grunts from the herd. The earth seemed to vibrate with the power of the animals as they shifted, their massive bodies moving in perfect formation. I called out a warning over the wind, "Step away from the fence." But Karen, as always, ignored it. She was convinced that the HOA's rules somehow trumped reality, that her authority extended into my land. Within seconds, the first bull stepped forward, massive horns gleaming in the morning sun. Karen froze, her bolt cutters halfway through the last strand of wire. The bull stopped just a few feet away, nostrils flaring, eyes locked on hers. I could see her confusion, her mind racing to assess whether this was real or some kind of ranch legend. But she wasn't prepared for what happened next. I whistled a signal, a sharp, precise note that only my bulls recognized, and the entire herd shifted in unison. It wasn't aggression. It was a calculated lesson. The bulls surrounded her, moving deliberately, creating a living barrier between her and the fence. Each step was measured, each grunt a warning. This is not your place. Karen's face turned white, and she dropped the bolt cutters in shock. "What are you doing?" she screamed, waving her arms like she could somehow command authority over animals trained by a rancher who had spent years studying their behavior. But the lesson wasn't over. I walked calmly toward the scene, my boots crunching against the gravel, and the bulls parted just enough for me to step through. Karen stumbled back, clutching her clipboard as if it were a shield. "I suggest you leave," I said, my voice calm but firm. "These are my animals, and they're trained to respect boundaries. You've crossed one today." She opened her mouth to argue, but I held up a hand, signaling one of the older bulls. The bull lowered its massive head, a subtle reminder that my herd was not just livestock. They were guardians. Karen scrambled back to her car, tripping over the uneven ground, muttering curses under her breath. I watched her drive away, her tires kicking up dust as if fleeing from reality itself. I turned to my herd, patting the lead bull on the flank. They had done exactly what I trained them to do: protect, warn, and assert boundaries without unnecessary violence. Later, as I repaired the minor damage to the fence she had started, I couldn't help but laugh. HOA Karen had finally learned a lesson, the kind that doesn't come from legal documents or stern letters, but from raw experience. My bulls had reminded her that some territories are sacred, and crossing them comes with consequences, even if she thinks she's untouchable. By evening, everything was back in order. The pasture was calm, the fence sturdy, and my herd lounged peacefully, chewing cud like nothing had happened. But I knew that the story of Karen versus my bulls would spread quickly. Neighbors would whisper, HOA board members would reconsider their next inspection, and Karen herself would never again underestimate the power of a rancher who trains more than just animals. He trains respect. And that, as I watched the sunset over my land, was the most satisfying lesson of all.